Welcome to the Leading Visionaries podcast, featuring stellar conversations with emerging and established leading visionaries. Thanks for joining us today as we celebrate and spotlight the leading visionaries who are thinking differently, seeing new possibilities, have the courage to dream big, take inspired action, and create conscious change all around the world. Now, here's your host, Anjel B. Hartwell.
Well, hello, it is Anjel, and it's another Think About It Thursday here on Leading Visionaries podcast. So the first thing I want to do is celebrate. We are now downloading in 10 countries around the world, which is super exciting. And we are also ranked in the top 100 already. So that's also super exciting. I want to celebrate and say thank you to all of our listeners, as well as to our guests and to, of course, the team behind the scenes. So today's Think About It Thursday, I am going to talk about the team behind the scenes, but more importantly, I'm going to talk about directing and delegating. And as a leading visionary, one of the very first things that needs to happen for you is to become aware that you are not doing this job alone. You are not here when you have a world-changing vision to do it all by yourself. And that means that you need to be willing to not only surrender that idea of being the lone wolf, but also to learn how to delegate and direct. Sometimes the hard part of delegating and directing when we are bringing a vision into reality is we don't necessarily know exactly what to delegate. We don't necessarily know exactly what to direct the people that we are engaging and enrolling to join us in bringing that vision to reality to be doing. And that is when it's super important to have another set of eyes that is an advisory set of eyes on your vision and on your business. One of the reasons why the consulting industry exists is because there are people who have done a thing that you are trying to do. And it may not be, the exact thing that you're trying to do, but the thing that they have done that you're trying to do is bring a vision into reality or help other visions come into reality. So, for example, I have created this podcast. I'll use this podcast as an example. I created this podcast. I brought this vision into reality. Therefore, I am someone who knows how to do that. Clearly, I'm somebody who knows how to do that in a way that allows it to rank, allows, expansion on a global level quickly to happen. And therefore, if those are the kind of elements of what you're looking for when you're looking for help to get your vision out of the air and onto the ground, you want to have that kind of a person on your team, the kind of a person who has already taken vision and brought it into reality. Could be somebody in your industry. Oftentimes, it's better to work with somebody, to hire somebody, to engage somebody as a consultant or an advisor for your vision from an industry that's outside of what you're trying to do, because they can bring a perspective that you wouldn't have when you're in the silo of your industry. Now, for those of you who are innovating completely new industries, that's another ballgame altogether, and is even more important to have somebody on your team, on your side, who is able to support you as the visionary to be able to bring that vision into reality and to give you guidance around things that you don't know that you don't know. It's incredibly difficult, and I will out myself on this. It's incredibly difficult to know how to best use your resources when you're at the beginning of a vision, when everything is a giant experiment, and when you are sometimes putting things into place out of order. So as an example, when I started my consulting business 15 years ago, it was before social media was what it is today, obviously. And so I hired somebody to help me with social media. And at the time, this was like back in 2010, maybe. At the time, I had the knowing that it was important for me to have a social media presence. And it was really in the dark ages. Everything was really much more rudimentary than it is today. And so I didn't know what I didn't know. And I ended up making the choice to hire somebody, and I was paying this person $2,000 a month, $2,000 a month to grow my social media presence. And basically what she was doing was she was like writing maybe 10 posts a month and posting them on LinkedIn and I think Facebook for $2,000 a month. So what I had to do quickly, fairly quickly, was stop the bleeding on that. And that's why it's so important to have a guide who is outside of the implementation process, who can guide you to not only put things into place in the right timing and in the right order, but can also guide you to be able to quickly and swiftly stop the bleeding if you've made a choice and it's clear that that choice or that delegation or that direction or that decision is going to take you off course or is going to drain your resources. And it's really important to have that kind of guidance. I think if I were to go back to my previous self 15 years ago, I would have told myself then to find a consultant, a business consultant or guide who could give me strategy, could help me with the understanding of the pieces and how those pieces need to go together, kind of the box top of the puzzle, rather than spending the money that I did on being in a constant state of, oh, I got to implement this. 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 It is a delicate dance, and you do want to be in implementation. You do want to be in action, but you also want to be mindful and wise in the use of your resources. And resources is not just money. Resources is your social capital. Resources is your personal well-being, which is actually your primary resource. And of course, resources includes your money. So when we're talking about direction and delegation, let's go back to this idea of not being the lone wolf and the kind of paradoxical dichotomy of being the vision carrier. You are the one who has the vision. You are the one who is the catalyst for bringing it into reality. You are the one who is going to be the voice of the vision, the one who is enrolling people to work with you, enrolling people to invest with you, enrolling people to become your clients or customers, if it's that kind of a vision, enrolling people to be your supporters, your cheerleaders, right? And so, yes, you are a lone wolf in that. And we need to dismantle the idea that you have to do it all. We definitely need to dismantle the idea that you have to do it all and get you to a place where you are doing the parts of bringing the vision into reality that are your most joyous. Like you receive the most juice and joy from doing those things, being in those roles, playing those parts of the symphony, and where you are easily able to and willing to find other people to play with. And I want to talk just briefly about making the energetic match and how important that is, and how that's even more important in my mind than making the skill set match or the experience set match or the technical know-how, making that match. It's more important to have a great energy match. And so again, using this podcast as an example, I have a team that does all of my editing. Shout out to Tim and the team who's listening to this recording and doing the editing. And one of the things that I love best about working with Tim and his team and outsourcing to them is that he is exceptional at what he does. And he is also I feel so supported. I never, ever, ever have to think about what's going to happen once I shut off the mic. It just happens magically. It happens beautifully, and it happens in an award-winning, world-class way. Anytime there's even the tiniest little blip on the radar screen, a link went missing or something like that, Tim and his team are exceptionally responsive. They are highly professional. They're creative. And the energetic match is there for me. We get along like peanut butter and jelly, right? And he's the peanut butter and I'm the jelly. He puts down that solid layer of support that allows me to, put my sweetness into the mix. And together we make the most wonderful of sandwiches. So these are the kinds of people. It's really the energy of the people that you surround yourself with that are going to make bringing your vision into reality a pleasure, as well as prosperous and profitable, impact producing process. So that's what I have for you today about delegating and direction. I definitely have a whole lot more to say about this, and I'm aware of my time limit today. So I'll be back with another Minisode, and I thank you again for being a listener. I thank you again for being courageous and willing to put your vision out into the world. I thank you again for knowing that you can get help just by listening to this podcast. So if you have enjoyed this episode, please rate it, review it. 5 stars is welcome. And certainly share it with other leading visionaries in your circles. And just remember to keep your ears open, your eyes open, and your heart open. You are here to create conscious change.
Thanks for tuning in, downloading, and listening. Be sure to rate and review Leading Visionaries on Apple Podcasts and share with other people you know who can benefit from today's episode. Leading Visionaries is the premier podcast series for informing, activating, and inspiring the leading visionaries who are called to create conscious change and know that now is the best time to welcome wealth and cultivate a web of collaborative support to bring their vision to life. We invite your feedback and guest suggestions and invite you to subscribe to our mailing list to be notified of new episodes at leadingvisionariespodcast.com.